Hey, what's up, Marcus? Just give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Just give me 1 second here, Marcus.
You got it.
All right. Okay. Hey, Marcus.
No
So as
problem.
you guys can see, Nick is still not with us today. I have Marcus with me back again for a second time. Marcus, how you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Carlos?
I'm good. I'm good. Excited that baseball's finally back.
Yes.
It's felt like it's a long time.
Yeah. At the short winter when the Yankees go to the World Series, but at the winter's always too long when there's no baseball.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just before I get started, just wanted to let you guys know that I did want to thank you all for tuning in. At the last live show, we had I want to say about 45% of the people that tuned in were not subscribed. So if you could do me a favor, just hit that subscribe button, and that way you'll get all your Yankee prospect news right away. And I do want to thank a lot of the channel members like Tina for helping me out, Diver, Tim, SSB, Denafia, Donnie. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I'm trying to set it up right now, but I'm gonna be doing a monthly members only live shoot a video. I'll have some of you guys on, and we'll touch on a couple subjects. That said, let's get right into it. And just wanted to go over some of the prospects in spring training. Marcus, is there anybody who you are most excited about?
I want to see what Spencer Jones looks like. Last spring, he looked fantastic and got a lot of people excited about it. And then over the course of the season, created a lot of concerns. I want to see what he comes in looking like this year. It looks like he's got a new swing, new timing mechanism, new setup. If this is going to take hold and be effective, if he can be consistent with it, then he jumps right back at the front of the line when it comes to Yankees prospects. And I think I want to see what Arias and Lombard look like in the big league camp. That says a lot that the Yankees brought them in because there's a lot of bodies in camp, and no, they obviously don't plan on having them break camp with the Yankees, but they're letting you know what they think of those two guys by bringing them in.
Yeah, it's good to see those guys bright early. For me, well, first let me say what's up to SSB. What's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you as always. Um, I'll get to that, but yeah, I will be going to Tampa. I think March 12th. I'll be there. For me, I definitely want to see Jason Dominguez. I hope he gets off to a really hot start. Pretty much duplicates what he did last season, right? I think he hit over 400 in spring training, and that way they'll be maybe the Yankees will stop that with that nonsense of oh we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does. I mean, I get it that they don't just want to anoint him the starting left fielder, but in my opinion, it's time, right? He's your number one prospect, and he has been for some time. For me, it's time. The other guy that I want to see a decent amount of innings from is Chase Hampton. I feel like he needs to show us something. Of course, I'm a big Chase fan. I'm really excited about him, so he's definitely one of the guys that I'm excited to see. And another guy would be Clayton Beater, who I do believe the reports came out. I think it was from Hoge about some lingering issue that he might have had. So I don't know if that's going to cause him to miss any time.
Yeah, it sounded like he had a shoulder thing, but it said that he was past it already. But anytime you hear something like that, anything that seems to set you back a day or a week in spring training, that seems to really matter by the time things come to a close. There's so many relievers now, and I am counting him as a reliever.
Mhm.
That anytime you fall behind, there's guys there who are ready to take your place. So
Yeah.
shot at making the team, hopefully he's throwing right away.
Mhm. And on that note, the reliever Eric Reiselman also had an allergic reaction of sorts. Don't know what that is yet. I did reach out to him, just wishing him the best and for him to get back on his feet right away or as
Yeah,
soon as
I
possible.
read it was a peanut allergy, and if
Um,
that's accurate, that's really scary. So I'm glad that they caught that and he was able
mm,
to get back.
yeah. Um, Anybody else that stands out to you that you're looking at or that are really interested to see in the spring?
I think you mentioned Dominguez. Oh, I want to see what Pereira looks like
Mhm,
after coming back from surgery, because like if it's not Dominguez, then who? Right?
mhm.
It's
It has
not
to
like
be.
yeah. So either you're giving him the runway here, like you did Volpe, and say you're our guy, and no matter what happens, we're gonna ride it out with you,
Mhm,
or you're gonna say, well, let's see what it looks like, and if that's the case, then what does Pereira look like? Because that's the only guy I can think of, who would maybe make a name or make a case for himself breaking camp with the big league club, but he's gonna have to be pretty loud. I don't see that happening,
mhm.
but I'm really excited to see what he can do coming back this year.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the guys that I was gonna say that would be the other option. I think he should get a really good long look. I think he came on really strong last year. I know he didn't play that many games. I think it was 40 games last season, but he did show good power numbers as he always does in a short span. Again, it was just 40 games, but he's another guy that I think he's at that moment right where it's like, okay, you got to show me something.
Right. Yeah, because I mean the opportunities don't they come few and far between when you're a Yankee minor leaguer.
Right.
Either you grab that opportunity or they move along.
Hmm. Another guy that people are mentioning him in the chat is about Oswald Peraza. They want to see him get his shot, and I've been a big Peraza fan for a while now. And I, I almost feel bad for the guy, right? I almost feel bad for him. I
Yeah.
thought the guy he shot last year. There was a moment where I forgot when exactly it was, but he was hot. I thought he might have gotten a legitimate shot or at least a decent look, and that just didn't happen for him.
Now there's one where you could actually see him getting an opportunity. He has no options left. So either makes the team or he's out of the organization. Since they didn't get a third baseman, uh, it's him and LeMahieu and Cabrera. And there's a world where Peraza and Cabrera form a platoon at third base. I don't think that's far fetched, but
Mhm.
but you're right. I would really love to see him come to camp and have a big camp.
Yeah, I don't want. I mean, I would hope that he doesn't come off to a slow start and that he takes every advantage of every shot that he has been given.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see that for him. I wish him nothing but the best. He's like seems like a really good guy.
Yeah.
Um, another couple of other guys that I did want to mention. Well, Raisman was a guy that I was really interested, but Kevin Stevens was an interesting guy to the bullpen last year at Somerset. I don't know how much you got to see of him.
Uh, I think I only got to see him throw once live. Saw him on watching him on streaming, but I think it really matters that he got an invite to camp
Mhm.
because there's a lot of pitchers that they signed to minor league contracts who got the invite because of it, but not a lot of pitching prospects necessarily off the 40 got invited. He's one of them. I think that really matters. So you're right. That's a guy to keep an eye on here.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that I'm a big fan of. I liked what he did last year. Um, and a guy that could be one of those arms that comes out of nowhere because not a lot of people have heard his name mentioned before.
And
Especially if you don't watch Somerset games.
right, and I think he's missed some time. I mean,
Mhm.
I realize that I believe he's 27,
Yeah, he's a little older.
right? But they're not, not checking birth certificates on the mound. So if he can throw, it's going to be okay.
Mhm. Just a question here from Diver. What happened with Osio Rodriguez? I mean, nothing has happened with him. He's still in the organization. To me, he should have been at Hudson Valley last season. It never happened with him for whatever reason. I don't know what it is because he pitched really well at Tampa for most of the season. For me, from what I recall of his time at Tampa last year, he was probably the best pitcher down there for a long time.
I agree with you. That stood out to me as being strange that they've gone
Mhm.
so slowly with him when
Yes.
he looked like he was ready for a promotion far before he got one.
Yeah. Um, yeah. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
I
I spoke
figured.
with him. I spoke to him a couple of times, and he doesn't know why he's not getting the promotion either. But like I said, he looked like he was the best pitcher at Tampa for long stretches and most of the season down there.
Yeah, I hope that's another one where I hope he grabs hold and can stick around.
Oh, Diver saying that he was released. I haven't seen anything about
Oh
his
yeah,
release. The
I
last
haven't
guy I
seen that
saw,
either.
the last guy I did see released was Brady Rose, who was drafted 12th last year.
Right. Yeah, I didn't see that about Rodriguez.
Yeah, I haven't seen that about Outfield either. So that's news to me. I'll look into that for you, Diver. Um, just some prospects that could put their name on the map. You've already mentioned Spencer Jones. Rafael Flores is another guy who jumped up the boards last season.
Yes.
What do you think about Rafael Flores?
That's who I would say. I mean, he's got an opportunity here to let people outside the organization know, because I think that's a name that's come up right away with people in the organization during the offseason when they're talking about guys they're excited about. And they don't have a backup catcher right now. I'm not saying Flores is going to be that guy now, but if you're a catcher in the upper levels of the Yankees minor league system, there's a pathway to making the club in the not too distant future. Obviously, he's not on the 40-man roster. I would expect that he goes back to Double-A this year to start off with.
Mhm.
But there's a guy who, if he gets some run with the big league pitchers, I'm really curious to see what that looks like.
Guy here saying Yankees need to develop a younger catcher to really develop and at the very least be ready by next year. I mean, you have Austin Wells right now. I mean, I don't know why you're wanting to develop another younger catcher. You have Austin Wells right now. Behind him, you could have Ben Rice. You could even have Rafael Flores and JC Escara. I mean, JC Escara is not that young. I believe he's 29.
Right. It would not shock me. Now, when you listen to the questions about, well, who's your backup catcher, the first name out of the mouths of the organizational people is not one of their prospects. Right? It's the catcher they got from Cincinnati. Is it Jackson?
Yeah.
Alex Jackson? Okay. And you've got Rice, who's, I don't know. I'm curious about that. Do they have a role on the big league club where he's catching? And I know he's coming to camp to catch, but he's also going to play first base. You got a right-handed hitting first baseman. Does Rice get time at both spots? You've got Escara, who it would not shock me if somehow he found his way on the big league club, especially if there's an injury.
Mhm.
He's also left-handed. And then Flores, I don't think is a guy who's going to make the big league team, but as a right-handed catcher, I wonder if they would like a complement to the left-handed hitting Wells at some point, or if they would go with two left-handed hitting catchers. So I think there's definitely a pathway for those young guys, and I'll throw Omar Martinez's name in there too, just as they didn't invite Antonio Gomez to camp, but Martinez is there, and he was in Hudson Valley last year, so. That's another guy. He doesn't show up on prospect lists.
Mhm.
So is that somebody who we can start to see maybe move in that direction? Because I think he's only 23.
Yeah, I'm partial to JC Escara. I mean, I think JC Escara played well last season. He's just coming off of winning the batting title in the Dominican Winter League. I would like to see him get a shot, only because I prefer some offense as opposed to a guy who's not going to provide you with much.
Right. Right. I don't know that they want to put an automatic out in the lineup. Now, I would guess that if Wells is healthy, he catches 120 games this year. So we're not talking about a guy who's going to play a ton. So
Mhm.
maybe then they do go with someone who they think is a good pitch framer and someone who was there to help the pitching staff. But I mean, the Yankees prioritize framing. So I don't know if any of their guys are going to be poor pitch framers.
Mhm.
I would rather they have someone when he's in the lineup is a threat.
Let me just address this right here. Was guy saying Wells ended up hitting 229 last season. He slept the last 6 weeks during the regular season. But I mean, if you break that down, which I always love to do with prospects, if you actually break that down, he was on fire right before that happened. And if you notice, the beginning of that quote unquote slump happened when he took a fastball off the wrist. That's when he went into that prolonged slump for the last, what, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it might have been. But up until that point, I think he was over a 40. I want to say like a 40 game stretch where he was hitting well over 300.
Yeah, and they didn't have a cleanup hitter, and then
Mhm.
he ends up hitting cleanup and doing a really good job with it for a while.
Right, he ended up
Uh,
providing protection to who was batting there, Judge at that time.
yeah, right. You're batting fourth behind Soto and Judge, and you're holding your own as a rookie, and that was impressive.
Mhm.
The other, even if he didn't get hit with a pitch, I would have expected him to wear down the stretch, because when he took hold of that number one catching job, I don't know that he's ever caught that many games in a season before, especially going into the playoffs when he started. He's gonna play every day. I don't know what he had left down the stretch, but I think some of that was natural, and we'll see what the carryover is this year. And now that he's had a full season of catching in the big leagues behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about Judge coming to this season, or Wells coming into the season. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. I think he's going to do really well this season, and he's going to show the Yankee fans some things.
Yeah, no, that's
Uh,
it's a good guy to have, no question.
Another guy that I did want to touch on was TJ Rumfield. For me, Rumfield was the guy that I thought they were going to call up when they needed when Rizzo went on the IL, and it ended up being Ben Rice. But at that time, Rumfield was pretty much on fire, hitting over 300. The defense has always been solid with him. He's coming off of a Gold Glove, and he just never got the call.
He's one of those guys that you wonder, are they ever really going to give him an opportunity? It's hard to believe that they will, based on past and maybe present too. They didn't protect him on the 40-man roster in the offseason, and he wasn't taken in the Rule 5 draft. So maybe, I get it, he's a first baseman, and not a lot of teams are going to roster multiple first basemen. But is he in a situation like Peraza, where what's it going to take? Is it going to take multiple injuries to give him a chance? To me, it feels like if they're going to let him play, that means some bad things happened at the big league level.
Prophet is asking, how do we feel about Ben Rice this year? I believe in him and think he could really produce with consistent playing time. And I think that's it right there. It's a matter of getting Ben Rice consistent at bats. And how is that going to happen? Especially if Goldschmidt is healthy, right? Because the Yankees are going to trot him out there every single day if
Right.
he is. So the only other spot, and I have seen that he has been working with the catching unit, in the first couple of days of spring training. So maybe he's in that race to be the backup catcher.
Yeah, I think so. And he's real as a hitter. Controls the strike zone, has a great idea of the strike zone. And I mean, his backstory is so interesting. And the fact that he's just taken off like a rocket up through the system, he's still emerging. So I agree. I would like to see him get an opportunity. I think that's a real big league hitter there. We've been fooled before about that type of thing, but I think what we saw last year, there was enough there to make us feel pretty good about what it would look like if he did get some playing time.
What's up, Brock? Um, Other guy I wanted to mention, well, Cam Schlittler is also in camp. He's just one of those guys that I'm at this point. He's just basically showcasing himself, right? The I expect him back at Somerset. I think he had what, less than maybe 6, 7 starts,
Yeah, I want to say, I was thinking 8 or 9 that he had at the end of
less
the
than
season.
10. It was
Yeah,
less than 10 starts.
yeah, yeah. But he's, maybe that's if you start going through their pitching prospects, is Will Warren, Chase Hampton, and then Cam Schlittler.
Hmm.
Maybe, I mean, granted, they draft a lot of pitching, and there's a lot of guys at the lower levels who you could argue, but he gets that invite. That's kind of them anointing him as one of their top pitching prospects.
Yeah, it's
So
putting him on the radar.
yeah,
Mhm. Another guy that I really like is Leo Pistana. The Yankees had him as a starter, but last year they put him in the bullpen, and for me, he was just lights out. He became a weapon coming out of the bullpen last year. How much did you get to see much of Pistana?
I just saw him pitch live once, but yeah, I was happy that they signed him back.
Mhm.
So and it's great that so he's a non-roster invite too. Same with Sean Boyle,
Yeah.
and I'm personally a fan of his because I got to interview him for Pinstripe Alley. What a great guy!
Mhm.
So I'm glad that these guys are back in the organization, and after having dealt with injuries, get another chance to do something.
Yeah, Sean Boyd was a guy that I thought was kind of fast track. He rolls up the ranks pretty quickly, and then
Yeah.
it seemed like back-to-back injuries just derailed him.
Right, right. And, at this point in his career, is he still a starter? Do they put him in the bullpen and see what he does with that slider? Um, that's something to watch for maybe coming out of camp or in camp this year.
Mhm. Another guy that that we've seen a lot from. Well, not a lot from, but we've seen a few times is Yoendrys Gomez. What are your thoughts on Gomez?
It's another guy with no options. So he either makes the team or it's another organization, I would assume. But it just looks to me like in the bullpen, he's got something. He's got enough stuff to be effective. Whether he gets that opportunity with the Yankees when there's so many relievers now, but you don't know. Beater comes in and he's a little behind. Jake Cousins is dealing with an injury, so you never know what happens in camp. There's a very real chance that he is a reliever for them, and then it might just be a matter of once he gets in games. I mean, I want to see. Remember when Alberto Abreu breaks camp with the team and
Right.
throws well enough that he carves out a role.
Mhm.
I want I see maybe a Gomez path like that. If he breaks camp, then that must mean that there was an opening, and if he could just pitch well enough in his opportunities, maybe he grabs a hold of a role for himself.
Yeah, I think Andrews was a guy that has pitched well. I think he ran into a buzzsaw in one game. I forgot what game it was, but he gave up a lot of runs, and then after that, it was just kind of banished for a while. Then he got a call up, and then I don't know if he actually got in the game, but he was basically put on the shuttle after that. But I thought he pitched well in
Yeah,
between that
yeah.
that
And
one bad outing.
he's dealt with enough injuries himself, and I
Hmm.
think when he was a starter, they handled him very carefully, and his outings were 3-4 innings anyway. But being able to, he's got more than enough pitches to be effective in the bullpen.
Right.
You could, he's at least a 3-pitch pitcher, and the fastball's still got juice here. So there's a guy who, if he can just turn it loose, I think there's something there.
Um, another catcher that we haven't spoken about is Jesus Rodriguez. He's also in camp.
Right. Another good mention of a guy who could put his name on the map here, because I think he's mysterious to a lot of people. Even Yankee fans might not recognize that name as a
Hmm.
prospect, but he could be. It's arguable that if you're talking about just bat to ball skills in the minor leagues, he might be the best guy they have right now.
Yeah,
Um,
he just hits, man. It doesn't matter where you put him, the guy just hits.
yeah, I mean, he swings a lot, but so we'll see what that looks like as he climbs the ladder. He's a Double A player now, but let's see what this looks like against big league pitching or upper level pitching. And that's another guy. He can hit, and he's a versatile guy too. Some people think third base is his best position. It just so happens there not a whole lot of third base prospects in the Yankee organization right now, so that makes
Yeah,
him interesting.
he actually has a couple options, right? Third base, left field, in the vet as well. In Winter League, I've seen him play in center field as well, which just speaks to his athleticism.
Definitely.
um, Another guy that I want to mention is Jorbit Vivas.
Does he fall into the? Well, he's on the 40-man roster, which helps a lot. Does he fall into the Peraza category or Rumfield category where we like you,
Hmm.
but we don't believe? So even last year when he comes up, he doesn't play at all.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, and he was hot right at that moment. He was on a good hitting streak at that point, and they brought him up for I think it was 3 4 days, and he sat all 3 4 days.
that's
I thought
right.
I thought it was incredible.
So
I didn't understand that.
I want to say, so the first injury he had last year coming out of camp is an orbital fracture,
Hmm.
which is incredibly serious as a baseball player. So to recover from that is a big deal. And I want to say, did he then get a concussion,
Hmm.
which is also tremendously serious for anybody, but for a baseball player, some that can end careers. So if you look at his numbers last year and you're underwhelmed, I think the guy's got some excuses. Whatever he played with, I'm sure he was battling. So, this is a guy that you trade Trey Sweeney, who I really liked,
Hmm.
and you get Vivas and a major league reliever who didn't stick,
Mm-hmm.
Gonzalez, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was okay. You traded Trey Sweeney, but you got a guy who's either equal to or a better prospect than him.
I thought it was a good trade at that moment because that's not a move that Cashman typically makes, right?
Right.
You have a top, what is it? I think at the time he was a top 5 prospect. His stock was still rising, so he traded from a position of strength.
Yeah, and it was taking advantage of the Dodgers, who it seems like they have an 80-man roster, but I think they do have to follow the rules of Major League Baseball, so they had to clear some guys off there, and the Yanks took advantage of it. But it just didn't. Sweeney took off and got traded to the Tigers, and he's starting in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Vivas, who just had it rough last year. So is he fully healthy? And if so, does he make them a believer? And then it's, well, if somebody gets dinged up in the, I think he can play third, but they'd probably prefer him at second. And
Yeah, I've seen him play third. To me, he's a second baseman.
Yeah. So then you're talking about a Jazz injury away. So
yeah.
And if so, do they play Cabrera before they go to him? Do they play Peraza before they go to him? I'm not sure.
What's up, Caleb? Ruck, real quick. I don't know if you saw, but Eric Razelman had an allergic reaction yesterday. I forgot what it was that Marcus mentioned it earlier. He had an allergic reaction. He had to be rushed to the hospital yesterday.
I think it said I read today that he's going to throw tomorrow, so that's good.
The other guys. What do you think about Brennan Davis? I mean, I don't know how much opportunity he'll get because I don't know where in the pecking order he would be, but he's got a few rungs in the ladder before it gets to him.
That's probably my favorite minor league deal of the offseason so far. I mean, recently they just signed Matzek that was with the Braves. I like that one too. But Brennan Davis was a top 100 prospect, and they've picked up like Owen White, who they just DFA'd, was another one who was a former top 100 prospect. But Brennan Davis, he's not on the 40-man roster. When you look at that situation, you think, all right, if he's going to play at some point, let's say it's time he makes enough of a noise in AAA where we really got to consider him here. Someone's got to go to get him on the 40-man roster, or it's a 60-day DL situation for somebody. But I'm really looking at that guy and what he looks like in spring training this year, because if he can recover some of that, I think he's dealt with injuries too, if I'm not wrong. If he can recover some of that prospect shine, I mean, that's a real guy. So, and it's not like they have a ton of outfielders on the 40 to contend with. So I'm interested there.
The last guy I wanted to talk about was your thoughts on Will Warren. What do you see for him in this camp?
So with this Stroman stuff going on, and I don't know what to think of this. I can't imagine. I'm sure they've tried to trade him to the other 29 teams.
I'm sure.
And it can't be easy. It surely appears evident that it's not easy, and now he's not there. I would say that Stroman's the 6th starter, but then it's Will Warren right after him.
He should be taking advantage of this moment. Do everything he can to take advantage.
So the stuff is all there. In my opinion, it's command. If he can throw where he wants to throw, and maybe not, it looked to me sometimes like guys are just they're trying to get swings and miss instead of, I got stuff that moves all over the place. Can I get outs earlier in the count? Can I get guys to put the ball on the ground? If there's a little more of that from him, maybe that's the last step in the development.
Right.
Then there's the guy who I think, for all intents and purposes, is their number 6 starter.
I mean, for Warren, I foresee him being like a Michael King, right? A guy who can initially pitch multiple innings and then eventually maybe slide into a rotation spot.
Yeah, and the pitch shapes, and you put those two guys together and they look eerily similar. But Michael King was just more effective out of the chute,
Mhm.
and maybe that's Will Warren this year. I hope it is.
Mm. So moving on to our next topic. So which prospects do you see that could break camp with the Yankees? Obviously, for me, it's going to be Jason Dominguez, but who else do you see?
Yeah, it's Dominguez, and then
Let me ask the chat. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is there anyone you guys are expecting to make it, or you think should make a break camp, or before we get started? But go ahead, Marcus.
yeah. So if you're calling Ben Rice a prospect, there's a chance that he breaks camp with him. Peraza, same thing. I won't. They don't have anybody else there to say that can't happen. So I'll believe that for now that there's an opportunity. Um, I wonder about the backup catcher spot. Um, Maybe can a guy like Escara steal that by the time they break camp in March? But there's really not a lot of spots. And then you got the bullpen. So is there a health issue in the bullpen where maybe Gomez sneaks through, or this Michael Arias that they got on the 40-man roster now from the Cubs? Is that a guy who can steal a spot? So not a lot of places and a lot of familiar names, but
I would
um,
be very surprised with the Michael Arias because I've looked at his numbers. I haven't actually seen him pitch. I know he's a reclamation project for Blake, but looking at the numbers, my God, those walks!
right, right,
My
yeah,
God, it's like a Major League Baseball character or
yeah.
a Major League character.
It's all walks and strikeouts though. So at
Yeah,
least I remember when they got him, I'm reading across the stat and I'm like, oh, look at the strikeouts, and then
yeah.
oh my God, look at the walks.
It's like
So
he backs himself into the corner and then strikes everybody out.
yeah, yeah. So I mean that means it's loud stuff, and it
Mhm,
looks like it's loud stuff. But if it's not a command issue, it's a flat out control issue, then
mhm.
we won't see him. But if they find something where they can get him in the strike zone, then they really got something here.
Is there anyone who could surprise Yankee fans?
In terms of making the team or
Yeah, just like out of nowhere.
out of nowhere. It's just so hard to see that because I mean,
It is.
realistically, when they don't have something, their first option is to go outside the organization. They've done that the last few years, where at the end of camp they make a move,
Mhm,
and you think, oh, maybe this guy's finally going to get a chance, and then it's okay. Here comes Franchi Cordero, and we're going to
mhm,
play him instead. So it's hard to think that'll happen.
mhm.
So it's more of a curiosity of does a guy, do the guys without options become attractive to other teams if the Yankees aren't going to give them a chance?
Mhm.
Does somebody else want Yoendris Gomez or Oswald Peraza? That's what's interesting.
Yeah, for me, it could be a guy like a Razelman who just completely skipped AAA, or maybe even Kevin Stevens, as I mentioned earlier. Like I said, he had a really good year at Somerset. So those could be guys that just completely skip Scranton and head right to the Bronx.
Yeah, so many guys to jump for them to do that.
Mhm.
So what those two guys can do is put their hand up and say, "I'm right here." So you might be seeing
Get on the
me.
shuttle.
Yeah, in the second half of the year, you might be seeing me.
All right. One thing that has been driving Yankee fans crazy is the third base conundrum, right? Is there an internal option? Is the Arenado thing going to happen? What do you think?
Count me among the fans that's been driven crazy by it. So I'm trying to look at it from both sides. I would bet, just from listening and reading between the lines,
Mhm,
that the Soto situation messed up their plan. Uh, I think Willie Adames was their first choice to play third base.
mhm.
Um, Good for him. He signed with San Francisco. He's going to play shortstop. He's not feeling sorry, but I bet that was their first choice. And after he was off the market, they weren't really going to sign Bregman. I don't think that they. I think they would trade for Arenado on one condition, and that is St. Louis either balances out the money or eats a whole bunch of it, and then he becomes I don't know, a $10 million a year player and he's batting seventh or eighth and
Mhm.
playing good defense. But even then, you know,
How much longer is on that contract? 3 years?
it's 3 years. So I don't think only under one circumstance would they have brought him in. And then it's, you know, the guys on the market that they might have looked at and say, I don't think this guy's really better than what we have. So I
Mhm.
don't want to give up prospects or I don't want to commit. I do think they're probably they're probably having their feet held to the fire by ownership and saying, we're not adding money. You can
Mhm.
subtract money and then we'll get somebody. So in that situation, it's so hard to believe that they're just going to go with this and not get a real third baseman, an
Mhm.
everyday player, when you're
Come
going to
on.
play a rookie in left field.
You really think that they're not gonna play DJ at third base?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You didn't believe. That's the hard part is you didn't believe in these guys last year. Why are we supposed to believe now that everything's good and we're okay with these guys?
They phantom IL DJ,
Yeah. So
but now they're trying to sell me. Sell me on them.
yeah, I love DJ and I love Cabrera and I'd love for Peraza to get a shot. And I hope that we're sitting here in June and saying, man, we were all stupid because look at these guys and how well they're playing. That's a lot of pressure on you got a rookie in left field and you need Volpe to take a step and you know
I
all
mean,
these things got to go right. So
even if you
without
have
you're kind of leaving that spot open.
even if you have a rookie at left field, still think that it'll be better than what you got last year.
It
At
has to
every
be.
I think at every single position on this team, you're gonna have better than what you got. Well, the positions we're talking about, first base, third base, left field, you're gonna get better this year.
They were zeros
Yes, they're
and
pretty much automatic outs.
now the bad part is, and I've never been an Alex Verdugo fan. I thought it was a prank when I saw that come across
He
Twitter
traded
last
for
year.
Richard Fitz, right?
Fitz
Fitz, by
and
the way, went like 5-0 with Boston.
yeah, and
He's still sub-2 ERA.
Weissert, Fitz, and Judice, who was one of their draft picks, so
Yeah.
they never even got to throw for him.
Mhm.
But that was what we were saying last year. It's got to be better than what they had, and it wasn't. Except he caught the ball, which is a big deal.
Mhm.
But that's really, I think, the only thing people are worried about with Dominguez is his defense.
I think it's absolutely blown out of proportion.
I hope it is. I mean, some of that stuff from last year was weird. You have to admit, like just
Sure,
flat out
sure.
not
Again,
catching fly
he's a
balls.
kid. He's a kid who's played center field all his life. You're asking
Yeah,
him to play left field in probably the toughest under the toughest conditions, especially in Yankee Stadium. Um, I don't want to say I'm giving him a pass, but I'm not looking at it and going, "Oh, he can't catch a fly ball."
right. He can have some time, and
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that his defense is going to be so bad that he becomes unplayable.
Mhm.
Um,
And in that vein, or right on that topic, what do you hope is the outfield alignment? Because for me, I hope it's Jason in center field.
I did too, just because I wanted him to be more comfortable and play a more
Mhm.
familiar position.
Right?
I think that tells you, but organizationally, how they feel about center field versus left field. I know it's not like they don't think left field's a big deal. I'm sure they
Mhm.
do. They played Brett Gardner there all that time. Uh, and then they'd love to have a center fielder and left, which is why they're probably hoping that Dominguez, is a good defender there. It just
And I
seems to
I
be
don't
like
I don't I don't mind him in left, but I would prefer if he gets started in center field. He regains his confidence because that's to me, that's almost everything. That's a huge part of the game is just having the confidence of, they hit that ball to you. You're not like, oh my God, I can't drop. You don't start thinking about it. That it should just be muscle memory.
to your point, and they've done this before. Don't jerk this kid around.
Mhm.
Uh, let him play.
Yeah,
So
don't break him.
if you are going to start him in center field, leave him there.
Mhm.
And you have a luxury in Bellinger that he can play different spots and play them well. Um, and that's another thing. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but we keep hearing about how much better their defense is. Do we know that? Do we know
It has
that?
to be. It has to be.
I mean, we don't know who's playing third.
Mhm.
Um, And
I,
Jazz, I
I,
hope, is a good
me,
second baseman, but we don't know.
I didn't mind Jazz at third base. I thought Jazz surprised the hell out of me at third base.
He was fantastic. I
He
mean,
surprised the hell out of me. Like I was not expecting that.
right. The thing that he had trouble with is the nuances of third base. Like on this cutoff, I'm supposed to be
Hmm.
here, and I'm supposed to like that kind of stuff. He's never played third base before,
Hmm.
so yeah, sometimes you, in the heat of the battle, you get lost. But in the physical part of it, he was tremendous.
Yeah. Definitely agree with you there, Ruck. Don't do
Right.
Jason the job of treatment.
Good
Definitely don't
example.
want to see that. I
Yeah.
definitely, like I said, I want to see him playing with full confidence because it'll show up at the plate if he's not with if he doesn't have that confidence.
Especially because he's a switch hitter. I mean,
Hmm.
that's two swings you got to tune up here.
Hmm. And if the
Although,
confidence isn't there, it shows up at the plate. The next thing you know, the fans are getting on you, media, social media. It's not going to be good. It's not going to
yeah,
be good. Let's put him in a position for him to be successful.
right. I mean, like they did with Volpe.
Give him that. Give him the Donaldson runaway.
Right. Come hell or high water, we're running him out there.
Yeah, man. I want to see 500 at bats. I don't give a damn if he drops 50 balls in the outfield. Give him those 500 at bats, please.
Yeah. And a couple of defensive mishaps for a 750 OPS out of our left fielder. Take it.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I think, and unless you guys have any other questions, just want to or if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat real quick, and we'll try to get to them. I will be in Tampa probably March 12th. If you guys are down there, let me know. We can link up. I'll be there from the 12th through I think the 16th. So maybe through the spring. I don't remember when the spring breakout game is. I got to check the calendar.
Is it the 15th or the 16th? It's one of those two.
Yeah, it's one of those. So I'm not 100% sure.
And is that in Sarasota this year? Or Bradenton?
Um,
It's the Orioles. They're playing the Orioles.
I got to check. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I think they're on the road. I thought it was at the Orioles, but I can't remember if their camp's in Sarasota or Bradenton.
Mm,
The Pirates are in
I don't think
Bradenton.
the Pirates of Bradenton.
Yeah.
Was it at George Steinbrenner Field last year?
It was. I got to go to it last year. It was great. Well, I was bummed out a little bit in the sense. I mean, it worked out for me that so they played a game beforehand, and then your ticket got you into the big league game, and then right afterwards, they said stick around for the spring breakout game, and everybody left.
Oh
So it was like friends and family and me watching the spring breakout game. So I got to sit right up front, and it was fantastic. I really hope that this catches on because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would be like at least a 3-game series, so that way you could get to see at least more of the prospects. Last year, I was happy for Brock. I thought he was excellent, but I did want to see some of the other guys.
Yeah, I'm still. I mean, I remember sitting there, and I'm still confused why they let him go so long.
Mm.
I mean,
He was
considering
on fire at that point. So.
he was, but it's mid-March, and the guy's already stretched out. I mean, I don't I don't think he pitched a minor league game for another month after that. So
No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. All right. I guess we're gonna head out on that. Marcus, I don't know if you want to give your socials out. I don't know if anyone knows where to find you.
Yeah, I'm too old to know my socials off the top of my head. I think it's just my first name and my last name. I think it's that on Twitter. So yeah, I don't usually post a lot of things unless I'm complaining. So
so you'll find them under Bobby's post.
Bobby blocked me, and I still don't know why. I have no idea why, because I don't say negative. I try not to say negative things ever, and I definitely don't go at people on Twitter.
That's what Bobby. He was gonna come on the show, but he had something, another thing. So John Brophy was also gonna come on this, but he's doing a thing with the Yankees. There was a few people that was gonna come on for this, but Graham, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. I really do appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, Adrian. I appreciate you all you guys. You guys have no idea how much you keep me doing this every day or every week. Thanks a lot. But Marcus, again, it was a pleasure. Thank you. We'll have you on again.
Thanks for having me. It's great talking baseball.
I love having you on. Like I said, I love your stuff at Pinstripe Alley. Just so you guys are aware, Nick is heading back to the military. I I think he told me in the first week of March he's going to be in boot camp for around 3 months or so. So I'll be hosting guys in and out, or yeah, swapping guys in and out. But again, thank you guys so much. Thank you for, and definitely appreciate you. So you guys have a good night, Marcus. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.